Alrighty, we are live. Welcome to the Survivor Washington after show for episode 4. I'm Jaden Osborne. I'm assistant producer and editor for the show. And with me, as always, is Heather Cannon, resident fan, I think the title is. And
super fan, I think is what Heather calls me.
Oh, yeah. Both competing super fans. Yeah, so this is a little different from the was uploaded to this channel on episode 2. Hunter's not with us, and the latest boot isn't with us. That's because I think we're going to start separating that from now on.
That's what we did last week, too.
Yeah, we did a recap for episode 3, but it went on to Heather's channel. So I'm sure we'll be able to link that somehow. But yeah, there's going to be an exit interview coming, one with the episode 3 boot and one with the episode 4 boot as well. I think they're going to be combined. I'm not sure exactly when that's coming, but maybe tomorrow or the day after or something similar. But for now, us three are just going to be like recapping the episode and talking through it, and that'll be this, just so we don't have too many people in one spot.
So you can find the link for the last recap on the Survivor Washington Twitter account. We had the link retweeted out there, and the account's name is Survivor WA. If anyone is not aware, so definitely follow.
Awesome. Alrighty. So should we just jump into the episode? Is there anything that you guys want to say before we get to it?
Let's get to it.
Let's jump right in.
Alrighty. Well, I know we open up with Wilson after the tribal council where Sheree got booted, and Kaya, Lindsay, and Kitty are all just kind of strategizing and like recapping everything. What are you guys' thoughts?
I mean, I think there's also a lot of like damage control happening in this conversation.
Yeah.
Kitty has a confessional where she's concerned that she put it out there that she wanted Kaya out and she thought that was going to go smoothly. And then at the last second, it kind of flipped on her. And I think it's kind of interesting that she makes a comment about how she had no time at that point to kind of do anything about that when it flipped on her. And she knew she was just kind of stuck with that outcome and was going to have to deal with that. And at the end of the last episode, we get almost the same exact confessional from Kaya, where she says, in what world do I have time to fix this vote and have it not be me? So it's kind of interesting to see it completely 180 and basically the same confessional and stance come out of the opposite side from the last episode.
Yeah, because when like Lindsay flipped that vote, they all had their torches and they were like ready to walk off. And so I don't know if they're allowed to talk after that, but that is like about as last minute as it can get. I was really impressed with that. And I was actually surprised that Kaya kind of jumped right into like a strategy talk with Kitty right after that. Like I feel like people this season aren't as like immediately vengeful as I would be. Because you see like Lindsay kind of wanted to take out Corey, but she waited a bit and let Sheree go first. Kaya didn't really target Kitty that we saw this much, like this episode.
More strategy than playing with emotion. I think there's also really good like player management where they're not just jumping to, well, that person is on my list because they did so and so, but immediately going to them and doing that damage control to get them feeling like you're good. I mean, look at Corey after he voted for Lindsay. Lindsay's convince him, oh no, you're good, it's fine, don't worry about it. And he's like, I think I'm good, I think I'm fine. Like, she doesn't care. Like, in what world? In what world? It's like these mind games.
Yeah, everyone's playing super smart, like keeping on the down low, trying to do what's right.
I don't know about everyone.
Well, okay, yeah.
We'll get to that, but a lot of people.
Well, like Kaya and Lindsay and Kitty maybe could be one of those three.
People either play really smart or real dumb.
Yeah.
And not a lot of middle ground players in this season.
No.
But yeah, it's been an interesting fall from grace of sorts for Kitty. Like she was pretty much running the show in the first couple of weeks, and now it kind of seems like she is going to be on the bottom with Stefan. I mean, they all get along really well and want to work together, but if they end up having to go to another tribal, I think Lindsay is definitely closest with Kaya and Satu, so she might be in a bad spot if they have to go to tribal again.
And she talks about that. She says something along the lines of, the friend of my friend is my friend by association, because she's like, well, Kaya's not talking to me, but she's talking to Lindsay, and Lindsay's talking to me, and Lindsay's talking to Stefan, so I'm not really sure I fall in that pecking order. But but the friend of my friend is my friend by association. And to me, that would be red flags, buzzers going off in my head. Like, if I have to question it, that means I'm not sitting pretty in this pecking order. But also, you're basically acknowledging, like, oh, she has this connection that she's actually talking to, and she's not talking to me. So to me, by default, that means you're further down that
Yeah.
chain.
No, I think
So
Lindsay's
it
done
doesn't sound like she's in a good spot.
Yeah. Well, Lindsay on the other hand has done a really, really, really good job of basically just spiderwebbing out and being like almost everybody's like number one and number two best ally, I think, especially now after the vote from this episode.
Yeah.
Yeah, Lindsay's really just been the star of the season, and I love it because she's so likable and she's so great, and she's just been consistently playing it so well. Like the fact that she had Corey just throwing this rogue vote at her, and she was able to just handle it, and it was fine. And then 2 weeks now, we saw her pretty much calling the shots, but I think the other players aren't necessarily perceiving it that way, because they all think it's more just kind of like they're Lindsay's friend and they're working together, when really Lindsay seems to be the one deciding who goes home.
Yeah, and especially I think I would have said maybe after episode 1 or 2 that Kitty was probably that leader position, but I think Lindsay has basically effectively cut out all of Kitty's options from underneath her and getting Kitty to vote along with it. So she's done amazing. Because Kitty really doesn't have people that I think she could bring in to take out Lindsay if she wanted to now.
Yeah,
like
she's
cut all her options off. So I'm really, really, really impressed.
I also found the next Kaya confessional interesting in that she's basically discussing why she didn't end up playing her idol, which was my first question coming out of the last episode. Is you've got balls of steel to not have played that idol. She says there's basically two options: either I don't play it and I pray I'm not going home, or I unnecessarily play it and now my alliance thinks I don't trust them. And my question is, what about option 3? You play it necessarily and you don't go home. I feel like that's a very viable third option. Like, there is a scenario in which you need to play this, and it just kind of seemed like either I don't play it and I go home with a nice souvenir, or I play it and I didn't need to play it and they're all pissed. Like, there wasn't really that third option, and I'm confused by that. I don't know if you guys have insight into that, but that was my question on that.
Well, I know that she had stated in the episode that she hadn't told Lindsay that she had found the idol yet, and she'd gone on all these hunts and stuff with her. So maybe that could have blown up, like her relationship, if Lindsay caught on that she lied about finding the idol.
Yeah, you lose the trust of your alliance. But what about option 3? You gotta play it, and you needed to.
Yeah,
it's definitely a legitimate question. I think pretty much what she meant when she was saying that was that she was taking a short-term risk for her long-term game, because if she did play the idol, it might guarantee her a week, but it's gonna seriously hurt her chances of winning. Whereas if she holds on to it and it pays off, which it did, then it's much better for her, not just going as far as possible, but actually winning the game. So I think that's what she meant when she was saying that.
Yeah. I mean, it's great she didn't play it, but when you break it down, I still feel like
that's an option. I think I probably would have played it. The only thing I have written down here other than that is that Kitty starts a trend in this episode of calling Setu Setu, and it pretty much continues throughout the whole episode, including the vote.
You mean the word say and then two?
Yeah,
Spoiler
exactly
alert,
how it's pronounced.
Spoiler alert, Heather.
Yes.
But I started counting how many people from that tribe start saying things like, we just got to win tonight. We can't lose again. We're just going to win. And that's still an option. Like, we're just going to win. And I'm like, oh, the more you say it, the more I know this is going to go poorly for you. And I lost count at some point, but there's a lot of that.
Yeah, see, I got so nervous because Setu said that he was like he was like, I'm very confident that I'm not going to go home tonight. And I was like, no.
Yeah, stop saying that. You know that's bad.
I know.
You know better. We get the Kitty confessional with the episode title, where she basically says, I think I'm good, but if not, darn if I'm not going to burn the whole place to the ground. We get the Brandon Hans quote, which I greatly appreciate. Anyone who's just like, fuck it. Just, I think probably how I would go out. If I thought I was going out, I'm taking everyone with me. That's
Tip the cereal bucket over.
Yep. So then we hop over to the, I can't say their tribe, right? The
Carbonato?
Yes,
Carbonato.
Carbonato. Oh, I screwed on every time. And it
That's
starts
right.
with Wes with this comment of like, we could really demoralize them. Like, because they're probably in a really bad spot. I'm like, what the hell is wrong? What kind of sociopath are you? Like, that's your first thought at group discussion time? We could really who phrases it like that?
Yeah, it's definitely very short-term thinking on his part, because I think he must know as much as anyone that they are not sticking together as a super cohesive group if they go into a swap or a merge as is. So they're going to really need those people. He's specifically going to need those people because he's targeting Connor so aggressively. That's like, you are going to need these people for numbers. So the last thing you want to be doing, unless I guess you're trying to get like Connor of all people to antagonize them or something, which I don't think Connor's gonna do.
It's the first strategy talk we really get from, like, I think it's Emma, where she's just like, if like we go to a merge, we really don't want them to be salty. So maybe we don't do that. Maybe that's not such a good plan.
Well, the first confessional we get here, I think, is from Sarah.
Oh,
and basically
so
she's
troublesome. So troublesome.
Basically, she's saying she doesn't want to throw a challenge, but she kind of sort of thinks it might be a lose.
Yes,
what are your thoughts on that?
She doesn't want to forget they're playing a game. Okay, you've been there like 12 hours.
Yeah.
If you've already forgotten, get tested for early onset. 2, she's concerned they're gonna get bored and start coming up with crazy plans. It's 3 days, right? It's a 3-day cycle. If you get bored in that amount of time, got bigger problems. Like this to me is a very troublesome confessional.
Is she not wrong though? I mean, how many different targets have we heard thrown around in the past couple hours of the game? Like, I do think we're seeing a situation where it's this tribe that hasn't really, I mean, they had that one vote that was unanimous in the first episode when they didn't really know each other, and they haven't gone since. So it's the reasoning behind it sounded a little questionable, but I think she maybe got the sense and didn't articulate it that well. That's more just kind of
poor word choice.
When you have this tribe that's living together in this game where you're going to be cutting each other's throats but you're not actually doing it. It's just kind of like shaking a bottle and then it's just going to just spray all over the place.
Yeah. Because then we have Sean come in with the Survivor nerd facts. He whips out Oolong from Plow. He's like, yeah, we can just have Jesus, Sean. God.
Except that they lost. Except that their tribe lost the first challenge, so already not an Oolong there.
Okay, the double nerd facts. You two could go play in a corner.
How hard is it to remember? Like, oh, there's this one tribe that literally never won.
Because I
can't really tell you much about Palau beyond just the fact, like, a few people that got far, and like there was this one tribe that never won a single mini challenge.
Yeah, because then we get into the epic idol hunt.
Group idol hunt.
Yeah, group idol hunt, because Wes both wants to find the idol and just wants to be done with the idol. But he doesn't care about the idol, but he cares about the idol. It's to me, who's the little creature from Lord of the Rings? Is it Gollum?
Gollum.
Gollum. He is the Gollum of his tribe, and the idol is the ring. He's like, the precious must have the precious. To me, whenever he's just can't get off of it. He's just like this idol, and it's just eating at him, and he keeps tripping over it. Just keeps on tripping over it.
Well, actually, literally, because I know there was a shot in like an episode, I don't know if it was episode 3 or episode 2, but Wes basically looks over a spot and the camera zooms right in. That's like where the idol is. It's in that grassy spot where everyone's looking.
Tripped on it. Yep.
I'm pretty sure that's where it is. And everyone is just walking over it. Connor's got a flashlight, which I thought was really funny.
Yes. Oh yeah. He's like, I can bring the technology in and I don't have to touch. I'm not sticking my hand in there. Meanwhile, like Wes is like elbow deep in a tree, and And Connor's got his little flashlight, like, oh, I'm good over here. And then you have like everyone in the brush in the wilderness. And then you have like Brett, who's just like, yeah, I'm just gonna stand here right at the edge. Looks good. Not seeing it over there. I'm gonna go look over here. But he's just standing right there at that edge, and I love that. Just right at the patch. You guys just go dig through it over there. I'm good over here.
I feel like they've probably trampled over it so many times at this point that it's like buried deeper than it was to begin with, and just no one's gonna find it.
But we get some interesting confessionals through this hunt, and I had some questions on some of them. Emma says something along the lines of, if I was to find it, I would probably tell one person. I'd probably tell Erica, but it's my idol. I'm not sharing it with anyone. I'm like, I'm confused. So why are you telling Erica?
She was saying if there was one person she'd tell, it'd be Erica, but if she can keep it to herself, she wants to do that.
Okay. Yeah, I'm like, where's the strategy? I'm confused by the strategy.
Yeah, I think in most cases, it is better to keep it to yourself, but I do think it's the idea of keeping it is sort of overrated. Like there can be some situations like Stephen Fishback in his first season where he shared it with JT and it like helps build a bond or whatever, or might have been Taj, I don't know. But he talks a lot about how you can use that to establish trust, like proving to someone,
Right.
hey, I trust you by giving this piece of information that I don't have to. But at the same time, we saw last season where it's like David, or not the season before, where like David told Zeke, and then once Zeke wanted to use that, he did, and Jay told Will, and then Will found it with Will, and then once Will gets a chance, he's like, so Jay does have an idol.
Yeah.
And next thing you know, everyone knows. So
yeah. And then we have one from Wes where he says, like, everyone knows I've been looking for this idol. And it's like, yes, Wes, it's a confession. You're supposed to confess something new, not something we all are greatly aware of. Like, we get it. You're looking for the idol. Please just find it and quit telling us about it. And then someone who's not on camera, you hear them just yelling in the background. And I couldn't quite make out what they're saying, but it was something along the lines of, I don't know why my grandfather always talks so angrily about, I think they say Vietnam. And I go back and listen to it. I really don't know who it is who's yelling about, but I just heard my grandfather speak so angrily about Vietnam, and I have a lot of questions about where that story was going. But I will say we get our one and only ass cam in this episode at 9 minutes and 10 seconds for my clarinet section. You can go check it out. Brought to you in part by the Sean. So enjoy that. It's the only one you get this episode.
Oh, so it's Sean this week, not Wes as usual.
It is. You
mix it up. Hashtag game changer.
Hashtag game changer. And then you get the Wes saying, I think I'm in a really good spot right now, which is normally the kiss of death. And then just Connor running around with his little flashlight.
And apparently Wes started telling everybody after Nico went, which is one boot, that the Wilkerson tribe has an all-female alliance, and they've got to like watch out for that or something. And Emma covered that in her confessional, which I thought was jumping the gun a little bit. But
a little bit. You eliminated one person.
Yeah, it sounded a little Rupert-esque.
Yeah.
Just has a bladder problem, okay? Which is usually a girl problem.
That's right.
And then we head back over to the Wilkerson camp.
And everyone's in a circle complimenting each other.
I call it the Kumbaya circle.
Yeah.
And Lizzie's got great analogies. Kaya's the glue stick. Stefan's nice. And she just loves Corey's hair. When your compliment isn't about your gameplay or how you contribute to the tribe, and it's how nice your hair is, you need to be concerned about your place in the tribe and how they view you. But I do wonder, he is out in that wilderness and he's done how many challenges, and his hair is still flawless. I can't do that in a controlled setting. I don't know how he does it, but I'm impressed.
Yeah, they don't have that salt water helping them out like they normally do on Survivor.
Yeah.
And they've competed. It's like they haven't been there for that long, but they've competed in multiple challenges. And I can tell you, as someone with hair somewhat similar to Corey, if I was participating in those challenges, my hair would not look that good. It would be just like one giant knot.
Yeah, exactly. Same. And then we actually go to a confessional from Corey where, much like my confessional, I had issues with him in the last episode where he discusses after he lost the throwing challenge being like a semi-pro pitcher. He's like, yeah, I've played like 6 of these games. I'm like, ooh, again, back to the information maybe you don't want to be sharing. Maybe you just keep that one to yourself. Ugh.
Well, I told you he had said in the pregame Meet the Cast video that he had done a bunch of these games before. So it's seems like it's just taking like a mental toll.
Yeah, he does really well apparently. So I don't know why the Lindsay vote was a thing from someone who's so experienced, but
exactly, maybe like
I think it just shows how tough Survivor Washington is compared to the other variations.
Yeah, that's true. Everyone goes around in circle talking about positivity.
We go to a Lindsay confessional where she discussed her optimism towards potential swap because she thinks they'll all kind of stick together. She's not, which I think they would be the more likely of the 2 tribes to stick together. And I don't know if that's because they've had this bonding through shared trauma of all these tribals, or they've tested those bonds at tribal council before. But I think she is onto something with being kind of sure going into a tribal swap.
Yeah. Well, I don't think it's necessarily that because of the tribals they've been to, because it seems like it was like after the first episode, we were saying that, you know, there wasn't really much going on in Carbonado. It's just kind of everyone was kind of voted together for the same person, didn't really want to strategize. Whereas it was chaos in Wilkinson, but ever since then, it's pretty much just been a group with just 1, maybe 2 people on the outs. So it just does seem like they're a lot closer. So it's kind of ironic that the group that is like getting along so well and has such great chemistry, and they are just not really, I mean, they're not blowing the challenges, but they're not winning them. And the group that is just really just a total mess socially is just pulling you out every week. Because you think normally it's the types that just don't have it together, end up not doing well in the challenges, but it's kind of been the opposite of what you would normally see.
Right.
Well, that's the thing, because we're 4 tribals in right now, and if you don't count the Corey Stray vote, every vote has been unanimous, and there's no one that's like come back from tribal council being like surprised or been in the minority or anything. So I think it's kind of good because you get back and everyone, no one's really felt betrayed at all yet this season. It's kind of disadvantageous in a lot of ways because you get back and it could be anyone. There's not like an easy minority vote after that. But in terms of, I think Lindsay mentioned in like episode 1 or 2, it's kind of like an intentional strategy to keep tribe harmony. So if there is a merge or a swap, then you don't have
not splintering.
Yeah, stragglers that are immediately going to jump over to Carbonado or whatever. Yeah. So they've been pretty good with that.
Yeah. Then they go back to the little kumbaya circle, and I found it kind of funny. And I think this probably should have been the episode title, in my opinion. But they have Stefan trying to say nice things about everyone in the circle, and he's struggling a little bit with that. And it's like, I don't know, it's just so hard. And Lindsay's like, too much emotional intelligence. And I feel like that too much emotional intelligence, it just got me, and that would have been my pick for the episode.
Too much emotional intelligence for episode title.
And I find it interesting that right after Stefan kind of is talking during that confessional, it cuts to a shot of this raccoon just kind of like rubbing his little paws together. And I don't know, I read a lot into those things, and I assume everything's there for a reason. And so to me, that was foreshadowing of what's to come with his gameplay. Just something to point out. Just a little raccoon, still pause.
Yeah, it'll be interesting to see what happens in the swap because, well, I do think that Wilkinson will stay together and that Carbonado will split unless they just get really lucky with how the divide happens. I don't know if it happens in the next episode or if it's just the players guessing, but because I don't believe it's been stated explicitly in the episode.
No, but they're all assuming.
Yeah, but I do think that it would be in Kitty and Stefan's best interest to flip because I think Stefan could maybe get to final 3 with that group because I think one of Lindsay or Kyle might want to cut the other before final 3, or especially if it's final 2. I don't know which one it's going to be, but like I definitely don't think Kitty's getting to the end unless she wins out in the immunities.
Right.
But I can't see her flipping. I could maybe see Stefan flipping, but I don't know.
Yeah.
I think it would depend on whether or not he'd get swapped to the same tribe as Kitty or not. Because if he's with her, then I think he's sticking with her. But if he's without her, and there may be people that he wants to work with, I think he may flip. I don't think she will.
Yeah.
Well, I asked Hunter before we came on, and he's given me permission to say that it's a swap. And so they'll be randomly divided into 2 new tribes. So this was the last episode of Normal Wilkerson versus Normal Carbonado.
Oh, that's a game changer.
Ooh.
So
Exclusive.
Right. Then we head back to the Carbonado tribe, and they're discussing why their camp is better. And there's a comment made by Wes about why it was better. And at one point he's like, yeah, the toilet's right there. In what world, when has it ever been better to have your toilet right there? Like, people purposely pick seats on an airplane to have the toilet further away. So my question is, in what scenario is it good to have the toilet right there?
I guess it's not as much of a hike to go to the bathroom. But then you also, if you don't want it right there either, you want it like nearby, but not like on top of you.
Exactly. Yeah, I feel like if it was dark, I would definitely injure myself on the way to the toilet. Like there'd be some branch that I'd.
Oof. Oh yeah, I would definitely. That would so be me.
Yeah.
I would do that during the day though too. Though, if I'm being honest, I do that.
So then they start kind of discussing their strategy for what they would do if they went to tribal council. Right before they go to the challenge. And I find it interesting that Wes makes a comment about wanting to be prepared for every scenario, every situation, except for he only discusses and only prepares for either Connor sitting out or Connor being voted out. 1 second. Hey.
Yeah, it does seem like Wes has gotten so hyper-focused on Connor, and Connor has to go, that I feel like it's definitely going to become a blind spot to him, where he may not be as perceptive in terms of reading the other players and what they want, because I mean it's so hard to say where the numbers are going to fall. I mean, it seems like it's, before I was saying I thought that Wes's side will get the numbers, but after hearing more from Emma this week and assuming that Erica's going to go with her, we haven't been hearing from Erica much, but in that case, I think it would be Wes going home, and I feel like he may not be able to get that read on the group and try to do something about it if he's just so like, Connor needs to go, which is kind of how it feels like from the get-go.
Plan. Like, what happens? Connor's got an idol, or I don't know, he's got some kind of fancy immunity or something. Like, he has no other plan other than Connor. It's like, well, I don't know, is he more obsessed with the idol or Connor?
Right.
That's tough, but I'd say Connor.
Yeah. I think it's a point in Sarah's favor, though, like in terms of just it's good to go to tribal council or else people come up with plans. Like, I feel like if they went to tribal in episode 2 or 3 or something, Wes's plan might have worked. But now that it's taken a while, and after hearing Emma's confessional, I think he could be screwed.
Yeah, I kind of feel like that Sarah confessional is foreshadowing a little bit what's going to happen.
Yeah.
That
I mean, thankfully, there's a swap
all these
for
people
him.
have guns pointed at each other, metaphorically speaking, on their tribe, and then a few other people join. Like, they're not going to just join together because it's just too much animosity at this point. Like, even in confessional, he's getting the digs in at Connor, being a joke about Connor having done well in the challenge because he sat out and didn't participate.
Yeah.
Like, it's just gotten to the point where it's just, I definitely think it's creating a blind spot in his game, that he's become so focused. Like, we've seen on the other side that Brett, since like the first hour or two, pretty much has wanted Sarah out, but he's not letting it become the focus of his game. He wanted her out in the first vote, and then he saw the group going a different way, so he went along with the group, and he'd still like her to go home. He's not obsessed with her going home. He's not telling everyone she needs to go. He's just doing what he needs to do. So I do think that the fact that they haven't gone to tribal and just the differences in approach, I think that's definitely going to help their side in the long run, because I think throwing that many names out there and being that aggressive about it has really alienated some of the players who are more in the middle and made them go more towards Brett and Connor.
Yeah, I'm really impressed with Brett, I think. I think he's doing really, really, really well. Especially for someone because he wasn't even supposed to be playing until like 20 minutes
Right.
beforehand.
And then,
So
because
he's
then
done
we
real
get
good.
to the complicated shit stirring where Sean gets concerned and he's scared. And then I had to write this down because I had to rewatch like 3 or 4 times to get the right order of things. Emma says that Sean told Emma that Wes said Connor was first in the pecking order and then Emma. It took about like 4 or 5 times to get he said, she said in the right order. But then Emma just walks into like the middle of camp and is like just blows up everyone's game. She starts throwing information out there, and Sarah actually said exactly what I was thinking of. Like, this person literally had no problem walking in the middle of camp and just laying all of her stuff out there to everyone. And is that someone that you can trust in your alliance? Because it's like, can I tell them anything, or are they just going to decide to go rogue without discussing it with me and just kind of share all of our dirty laundry right out there on the table?
Mhm.
Yeah. But I liked Brett's response to it. And he's like, well, this is awesome. Like, sounds like I'm sticking around. So later, like, I'm down for that. It kind of is a new spin on the Sandra as anyone but me, I felt like, where he's like, well, it sounds like a good plan. It's not me. Perfect plan.
Yeah, good job, Brett.
And you really haven't heard anyone putting Brett's name out there either.
No. There's a couple people, like Sean, I think, is doing really well.
It sounds like I'm scared. I'm like, literally, no one has said your name. Like, what?
Yeah.
What are you afraid of? People forgetting you? Like, I don't understand.
I think those two are the two that just everyone's keeping them around.
Yeah.
Do you guys have anything else to say on that before we start talking about the immunity challenge?
Get to the challenge.
Alrighty. So this...
I love Brett walking into the challenge, by the way, where he's just like, "Hello, friends!" Like,
oh yeah,
some self-awareness. He's cleaning up his messes. He's preparing for said merge or swap. I like that.
Well, I knew this challenge. I think they played in like Philippines once or something. I didn't even notice until my second viewing that the tiles he was using, after Kitty called them pavers or something, I'm pretty sure they were like cement with like rocks and like exposed cement.
Cement pavers.
Which is
they were mosaics.
Like that's, and they're like sharp around the edges and stuff. So even if you're just flipping, they're gonna cut your hands off.
Oh yeah, they're rough.
And then, but I was watching when Stefan was going through. He was diving for the pavers, like knees first, and I was like, oh, that's not going to be good. And it wasn't until after he got back to camp, they're just bleeding like really horribly, and they don't have bandages.
He's gonna give himself rough kneecap syndrome if he doesn't watch out.
I know. I'm gonna insist that Hunter put bandages on the Survivor Washington budget for next season because he needed them. It looked so painful.
Yeah, that cut was really rough. I didn't think that it would get that bad. Just a challenge where you're flipping things over, but I guess
yeah,
you're maybe not taking the safest approach.
I mean, especially Kaya and Sarah were like fighting with it right near their faces. If something, you need dental work. But yeah. Anyway, I thought that was a good challenge. I made a comment on Reddit saying that like I'm really happy with like the challenges have been on like a shoestring budget, but still I feel like after every episode the challenge is like one of the highlights. Just like something happens with the contestants and they make it really great. So I'm really like happy with how the challenges have like come out this season.
So tell me if this is just me, but Hunter comes into announcing this challenge and says, straightforward, easy one with the rules and everything. And I've probably watched it 4 or 5 times now, and I'm still not completely sure what exactly the rules were or what they were supposed to be doing. I mean, I loved watching it, but I'm still not 1,000% sure what the rules of that challenge were.
They had to have all their designs like upwards at the same time.
Okay.
And the other person's down. But yeah, I think everyone kind of got confused because on more than one occasion, like Wes was flipping over the wrong person's.
Yeah, Wes scored for the other team. Yep.
Good job, Wes.
And he was throwing shade at Connor.
Yeah. Look, sir.
Yeah.
Don't throw rocks.
Connor didn't screw up a challenge.
Yes. Don't throw pavers in a glass house.
Poor Connor.
Stefan beat a Division 1 athlete, which was good on for him.
I have a prediction. Do you think we're gonna have a single episode where we don't hear the words Division 1 athlete?
God, no. I hope not.
Never.
I mean, if she ends up going home before the finale, is it going to be brought up at upcoming tribals?
Right. They
Is this an ongoing joke that's never going to end?
I'm going to insist on the previously on Survivor. It just always recaps.
Yes. She could go out next week. And then the finale be like,
and 3 weeks ago, Division 1 athlete Emma was voted out.
Yeah, just every single time.
It's going to happen. Yeah, I think obviously the big one was Kaya versus Sarah, because for some reason when Sarah goes onto a 1v1 challenge, like shit goes down, she gets really hurt. She brings out the best. And especially since in episode 1, she was like, I'll sit out. And she turned to be like the challenge beast of the season.
Yeah. And that's kind of where Brett's problems with her came from, was that she said that, but it turned out to not be true at all.
Right. Kaya's approach to how she played this challenge reminds me of when, like, I played like one season of rec league basketball, and I was like half the size of all the other kids, and I was probably like in the 4th grade. But my entire strategy was, if I got the ball, I would just wrap my body around it. My mom talked about like these bigger girls would just be whipping the ball around, and I would just still be attached to it. And that's how I saw her play. This, like, because I never had a chance. Like, I don't know what I thought I was going to do by holding on to it longer. Like, I didn't have an exit plan, but I was going to hold on to it all day long. So that's how I saw Kyle. It was like, there was no way for her to possibly win, but she was going to hold on to it for dear life, which I think was a great move on her part, because I think she really won over some of her tribe members for doing it. But that was my first thought when I watched it.
But even like before that, when she was just kind of, I think her strategy was just like to follow Sarah around and just be like one step like behind her. I thought that was really good. And she just kind of made a fumble and got behind, and then had to hug a concrete paver for a minute.
Let's see. And I mean,
I think that this season really just proves that if you have the right cast, you have people who want to be there and are fighting to be there, then, I mean, as long as you aren't like completely screwing up the challenges, like just having awful ones, like as long as you have challenges that are even like okay, like, or it's just simple challenges, as long as the people there are so invested in the game and fighting so hard, then you don't need these like elaborate sets or expensive projects or anything. You can just have something as simple as this, and it'll still be compelling, if not more compelling, just because of the people that are on the season.
Yeah. And then that last kind of setup between Stefan and Emma, I mean, does Stefan really have a chance? I mean,
well, he beat her in the first round.
She is a Division 1 athlete. Yeah. Obviously, she's going to run faster. Like, it just seems like an unfair matchup, you know? He plays the clarinet in a chair, and she runs.
He can be Division 1 clarinet.
Yes. But...
First chair.
Yes, first chair, not first one.
Oh. That's right. He did well. Like, he was keeping out for a while.
He did a great job at bleeding.
Yeah, he held his own.
Put his body on the fucking line for it, judging by his knees.
Yeah, God, we don't need a medevac in Spire, Washington.
That would be awful. But yeah, I mean, well, that's what Kaya said in a confessional afterwards. She's like, I don't know what my exit strategy was. I was just kind of maybe low-key hoping that Sarah hurt herself and couldn't finish.
Yes. She like giggles, and then she stops herself. She's like, no. And then she's like, yep, I'm going to say it anyways. I'm going to say it. I just thought it, and it's bad, but I'm going to say it anyways. That's what I love.
She did the same thing at Tribal Council. I think. Once it was like, what are you guys going to do to Carbonato? And she's like, Murder.
Yeah. Which I think is the perfect response. I'm like, yeah, I'm on board with that. I would align with you. I'll hide the bodies. This is a good team. But Hunter says to them, like, whoever goes home tonight, it doesn't matter. And they're all like looking at him like, yeah, it fucking matters. I don't want to go home. Like, it matters to us. Would you like to go home, Hunter? It doesn't matter. You can go home.
Do you want to swap places with someone?
Right. Yeah, they were just so sad. They go back to camp and they're all sitting around like discussing it. And I think it's Kitty who's like, if it comes to it, like I'm okay being like, I would understand if like I went home, and they just look so sad. Like they're sitting around discussing whose puppy to kill.
Yeah, it was kind of funny. It was like juxtaposition from the right before the challenge when they're all in a circle saying compliments to each other. Now they're kind of like in a circle, like having a depressive meeting, saying everything bad.
Yeah, it went real quick.
Yeah, I really didn't want them to go to tribal. I was really hoping they would make it intact. I'm glad that we didn't have like Connor going home, because that would have also really bummed me out. But
I like Connor.
There just seems like such a strong group that I kind of wanted to see them make a run for it.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. I should just say, if anyone's in the chat and wants to ask a question, I don't know how many people there are, but yeah, if anyone wants to ask a question, we can ask them after this. Anyway, keep going.
You see Kitty attempting to manage Corey, and it's not going great. And I love her analogy about, like, I don't know if I'm the big truck that's like standing in his way, not letting him pass, or if he's the big truck and he won't let me pass. But you see her kind of come to the conclusion that she cannot control him and use him the way that she wants. And I think that's kind of seeing her come to the conclusion that, well, if I can't get him to work with me, then he's got to go.
Yeah. I don't know. Well, we get to tribal council then. And what was there anything else before tribal?
That's about all I got.
Just the fight pretty much between, not literal fight, but the back and forth with Kitty wanting Corey to stay and Lindsay wanting him to go home. And so there was that internal battle. In a sense, we didn't really see a lot of the private conversations. It was mostly just Kitty and Corey and just seeing where Lindsay's head was at. But yeah, I was afraid I was going to go into a tie going in the tribal, because I didn't think that Kitty would give up like that, because I felt like she really needed Corey and Stefan, and she said, like, those are my three, which she was talking about it way before, like, the challenge. Even she was kind of saying, like, those are her three, and then, like, she has Lindsay, who has Kaya. So I felt like she really needed to hold on to that three, and Lindsay kind of needed to hold on to her three, so I thought it was going to be a tie, but it wasn't.
Yeah, I did like that Setu was like in pretty significant danger this episode, and there's just like a jump cut to a confessional of him, and he's like, "Oh, it's definitely not me." Like,
Which, I mean, it was right. It was an unanimous vote, but he was in more trouble than he seemed to realize. Either that, or maybe he just had read the group and had known that they were going to go with him at that point.
Yeah. Anyway, we get to tribal council. Oh, my favorite thing is when they all got into tribal council, like, obviously they're really sad and stuff, but Hunter, I think, sounded the most sad of them all, because when he was like started talking to them, he was just like, listen,
why couldn't you just win that challenge?
Back at tribal council, I have to vote someone out. And like he had like the sad, and then he kind of like, yeah, but for a moment there he was like on the verge of tears. He was like heartbroken for them. It was really sad.
It was. But I love the different exchanges inside this tribal council. Like, he points out to like Stefan, like, you got me by D1 athlete, like, that's okay. And Stefan's like, I don't do sports.
Yeah.
And he's like, she's basically like a pro athlete to me. And I think his kid was like, you're like a professional clarinet player. And I'm like, you know, as long as we all have something, that's what's important here.
That's right.
I also like he has them vote. And I think it's interesting that when he has, is this going to be an emotional vote? It's just Corey. And then he has, okay, well, who thinks it's going to be a strategic vote? And it's everyone else. You're like, ooh, it's not looking good for you, Corey. Not looking good.
That couldn't have worked out better. I was like, I didn't think it would like amount to anything, but that was like really good.
Yeah.
But yeah, eventually Corey goes in a 5-1 vote or a unanimous vote. Do you guys think that Kitty and Stefan and all that made the right call by cutting Corey, or should they maybe have fought to keep him?
I mean, it's hard to say without having a read on how willing Lindsay and Kyle would be to go to Rocks if there was any chance that they could kind of like strong arm them. Then I definitely think they should have done it. I don't think that this was the result that was best for Kitty or Stefan, but
then again, I feel like
if they would have stuck to it, then you have a situation where you have a 50% chance that, you know, you or your closest ally is going home, and a 1 in 4 chance of going home pre-merge just over an ally when you haven't even hit like a swap yet. So I mean, I don't think going to Rocks would have been in their best interest, but if they could have like freaked the other side out enough that maybe one of them would have flipped just to go to Rocks, and I think
I don't
they
know if
should
they
have
would have
tried that,
flipped
but without
for.
having a read on it, it's hard to say.
Yeah, I think going into a swap so divided that you go to rocks would be kind of disastrous.
Yeah, you definitely
Yeah,
can't
but
go
at the same
rocks
time,
there.
if Kitty, Corey, and Stefan were like really, really gung ho on getting the 2 out, then it's like if they had really stuck to their guns, then it would have been Lindsay and Kaya who are kind of forcing the divide. So it's just,
Yeah.
I think we see it that way just because of the way the result went, but that's just because Lindsay stuck to what she wanted more than Kitty did, and Kitty kind of caved and went along with it.
But I think
Yeah,
Kitty
what?
also was feeling like she couldn't get Corey on the same page as her. And if it's someone that you don't think is going to work on the same page as you going forward, and trying to fight for them is going to ruffle the feathers of how many other people on the tribe, is it worth it to you at that point to try to save that person who potentially has no benefit to you in the future, and in the process alienate the rest of the tribe?
Well, that's
Yeah.
what
Yeah.
Corey's plan was, to take out Kaya. And I feel like they could have maybe gotten Satu and Stefan and Kitty on board, and that would have been a 4-2. Do you think that maybe would have been a better plan?
I
In
feel
Kitty's eyes,
like
I think.
I feel like that's probably not, because they tried to go after her last week and saw how well that went and how quickly that flipped. So I don't know why they would have any reason to believe that this week would be any different.
Well, if you don't include Lindsay. But yeah. I don't know.
Yeah, I mean, the question is whether or not they could get Satu, and it doesn't seem like they could. It seems like his allegiances are pretty much to Lindsay, and he's sort of going along with what she wants to do. So it seems like that would be a tough sell. I mean, Corey is acting a little bit like a wild card at times, but he did still vote the way that they had originally talked about voting. He didn't vote for Kaya. So I definitely see where you're coming from, but I don't think it was so bad to the point where she had to get rid of him, at least right now. Like, I think he would have been more of a shield for her, and he was a solid ally to her, whereas he may have had other plans, but I think it was sort of like Sophie and Albert from South Pacific, where you have Yala, who's kind of like coming up with these crazy plans, but if you can reel him in and get him to do what you want, then it's fine. And she was able to get him to vote the way she wanted him to vote. It was just that she didn't have the numbers to actually make that plan happen.
But if you're going into what you think is a swap and you don't think you're gonna be able to reel them in, you're like thinking this is pretty early on, pretty early vote, try to make it this straightforward. Can't reel you in now. We go to potential swap. You're a physical person. You're probably gonna be someone that side's gonna try to pull in. Are you now a liability?
Yeah.
Yeah, no, I just think that she was better off. I just think that Corey was a better ally for her long-term game than anyone else on her tribe, and I just have a much harder time unless she ends up being able to pull together the right group with the Wilkeson group or with the Carbonado group, which time will tell with that. But I just think with the options that she has right now and not knowing who she has on the other side, I think it's going to be much harder for her to get to the final 2 or final 3 than it was before this vote.
Yeah.
I think her best bet is going to be finding a new grouping with the swap.
Mm-hmm.
That's what her best card to play is going to be either pulling a single or a duo onto one of those mini alliances from the other side if there's a swap. So praying for her to be swapped with like Stefan and pulled in with like 2 people from over there and creating a majority.
Yeah.
Yeah. It definitely could happen. It's just a lot of variables that are mysteries to her at this point, but we'll see.
It feels like there's got to be a lot of moving parts to come together for her to end up back in a good spot.
Mm-hmm.
All right. Well, we have a couple tiny questions if we can get to those. Yeah. If anyone else has any more questions, just like set them in the chat. Erin Moore asked, who plays very under the radar but has never got a vote?
So they mean,
that's just what it
a
says.
contestant in this season?
Yeah, well, who do you think's playing the best under the radar game? Maybe.
I would say Brett and Sean.
Yeah.
Mm.
Brett for sure.
Yeah, I feel like Erica hasn't really. I mean, Erica
Oh,
is
yeah.
under the radar in the sense that she hasn't got
Yeah,
the screen time.
I forgot she was there. So
Yeah,
way
Yeah.
under that radar.
I think Erica, as possible, might be a little bit too under the radar. I mean, we haven't been seeing her, but normally if you're not seeing someone, it's for a reason.
Mm.
And with what we have, the information that we have, it kind of seems like she's not the most active player in the game necessarily. So I don't know. She may not go home anytime soon, but I think she needs to be playing it a little bit more to be setting herself up for the end. But it's so hard to say when we haven't really been seeing her or hearing from her.
Yeah.
It's Seku though. Asks, will you ever do an endurance comp in this comp or in the future? And there's definitely an endurance challenge that comes up later on, I believe. Survivor Glendive asked, will you ever consider applying a younger player? I'm almost 16, would love to apply someday. I know the first season was like 15 to 19-year-olds, but I think for season 3 and whatnot, you're going to have to be 18 at least. So I'd encourage to lie on your application.
Yeah, I feel like the liability on that would be an issue.
Yeah. So maybe get a fake ID.
Yeah, I believe Hunter has said 18 and up.
Yeah. That's what I'd aim for as well.
I mean, the next season you'd be 17, so only a year away, right?
Yeah, there might be a season 4. You don't know. So maybe that one. Yeah, I think that's really.
Oh, going from Greg. Greg wants to know what those Cheerios are probably tasting like after been in that bucket all day long. The one tribe already spilled theirs, so
at the challenge, yeah.
Dirty. Yeah.
Oh, that's bad.
Yeah. Sure. I told Hunter next year he's gotta get Rice Krispies. I feel like that's the true substitute for rice.
That's right. Well, I think if we don't have any more questions, what are you guys' overall opinions of the episode and the season so far? And any other just general predictions of maybe how the swap's going to go and the rest of the season throughout?
It was a really great emotional episode. Really had a variety of things going on in it, a lot of insight into different players and dynamics. And I think that's really going to be interesting going into any sort of a swap. I mean, the swap, I think, could really push this season a ton of different directions depending on who ends up where. It's just kind of hard to predict where things are going from here. Someone who's in a great position now could be absolutely. I mean, you could end up like all stars where you get one person switched over and then what?
Yeah, that was set up though.
Yeah.
Look,
like
Heather.
Jerry said that they had them lined up and picking buffs in a very specific order.
Look, Heather.
Yeah, no, I don't like that swap either. Sorry, what about you, Heather, in terms of predictions and just
maybe
overall
Hunter's
thoughts?
setting things up. I don't know. Maybe that's what he did.
Yeah.
I don't know, Heather. Do you know? I don't know.
I think Hunter believes too much in the integrity of the game to be pulling that kind of stuff.
That's true.
But
he did let his auntie get voted out third, so.
Yeah, well, he's not going to interfere with the game, even for his own aunt. He let his aunt get voted out. Big moves, Hunter. But I still think there's a good chance that one of Wes or Connor goes home in the next episode, unless it's just like this crazy thing where Wes and all of his allies end up on one tribe and Connor and his allies end up on the other tribe, totally separated. But I mean, Connor is more targeting Wes out of necessity than anything else, really. But I just think that is, I don't know that they can put it aside at this point. But I'm definitely interested to see how the tribe divisions fall. It should be very interesting no matter how they end up.
Yeah, I agree. Do you guys have, like, if you had to lock down one name to be, what place is this? This is 12th place next episode? If you had to say just like one person, who do you think that would be?
I'm going to go with Wes. I'll put it out there.
Yeah, and West seems like it's hard. If it's not going to be West, that's much too hard to say because it's just going to depend so much on how the tribe divisions lay out. That's the only scenario that definitely seems like a high possibility no matter how things play out.
Just universally disliked.
Oh no.
I like Wes. He's nice.
And this is
play with them because nobody else wants to.
No, that's right. Well, okay. If anyone else has anything to contribute, I think that might be it for this episode.
Okay.
Yeah, we pretty much hit exactly an hour.
We do have another question. Greg wants to know what is the weak link on Wilkinson that they keep losing the challenges. What do you guys think?
I mean, obviously they should be getting prison ripped instead of having a love fest circle. But
yeah, I'm trying to think. I don't think they have anybody that's really bad because they're not losing by much at all. Like the last episode 3 came down to like 1 can left on the barrel. The sumo challenge was like tied up at the very end.
Yeah, always a bridesmaid, never a bride.
Yeah, I think it's just super, super, super unlucky, and I don't think there's anyone to blame. Otherwise, if there was, I think they would have gotten rid of them by now.
Yeah, I mean, it's been so close that I think it's just bad luck more than anything else.
Yeah.
And then Greg did have another question. He wanted to know.
Oh, good job, Greg.
Why does Carbonado hunt for the idol like a pack of wolves? It was kind of odd. You would think. I mean, he did say he just wanted the idol found, but you would think that he would pull together his allies and be like, "Hey, let's go look for this idol and let's find it so we can use it to further ourselves in the game, not just a tribe one."
What do you think you would do?
I guess it may be hard to get away.
Yeah, what do you think you would do if you found the idol in an open field in front of everybody? Like, at that point, do you just kind of say to everyone, like, I found it, and then use it as just
you throw it in the ocean.
Like people out? Yeah.
I think I would try to do what David did when he found the idol for the second time. So if you remember, that was during a group idol hunt. And I mean, that was a little bit different circumstances because he knew how the idols were being hidden with like the marked coconuts and branches and whatever. Yeah. So he did have a bit of an advantage there, but he saw it and he waited till he was in the clear.
It's a little bit harder though, because I think he had it was like around a tree or something, so you at least kind of hide behind the tree to block you. This is an open field, so I don't know like how you kind of hide that.
Yeah, I mean, if it's something that you can pull, I mean, since it isn't like a branch you need to smash open or whatever, it's just like an idol that's hidden. I think it's definitely much easier to sort of just sneak it in your pocket when you have a little bit more space and can see that no one's looking. Like, yeah, I mean, Spencer did that in Cagayan when they were, after Wu stole the clue and they were running around like crazy. They were all kind of looking in the same spot. But
yeah,
he was still able to grab it and just like shove it in his pocket with like Cass right there and everyone else like close by and no one saw. So I think it's definitely doable.
Yeah.
Much harder than it needs to be, but doable.
I think that's about all I've got, unless anyone else has anything. Next episode, next Sunday, we got.
So the last thing I was gonna add was when Hunter revealed the last vote for Corey, there was like a loud bang, and I don't know. Did you notice it was like a cannon went off or like an explosion or something?
It sounded like fireworks.
Like Hunger Games style? Like when someone dies?
Pretty much.
Yeah, it was like a second before he revealed the last vote, like sealing that deal.
Hunter claims he didn't edit that in, but I don't believe him. I think it was fake.
I need to go back and listen to that.
Yeah. It sounded it sounded like a firework going off.
Yeah. And then I think that's officially all that I have.
That's all.
So that might end things. Thank you everybody for listening. I know there was a week off last episode. That shouldn't be happening again. Just heads up. So next episode should be coming next week on Sunday. Cool. And I hope you tune into that. Thank you for listening.